Hi, and welcome to Carolina Varsity's 2014 look at the NCHSAA playoffs. I'm Dale Ross.
And I'm Matt Morrow.
And this next game we're going to look at is also in the 4AA playoffs. This is number 12 South Mecklenburg, 8-3 record, going against Butler, the number 5 seed, who finished the season 9-2 after that near comeback win against Independence Friday night. Butler's had a couple of close losses. They had the tough game against Richmond earlier in the year that they were up by 15 and lost it in under 2 minutes. And just to say, if anybody's watching, especially kids, you're never out of a ball game. A team comes back from 15 points and sends it into overtime against you in under 2 minutes. That ought to give you some thought. So I've had an opportunity to see South Meck a couple of times this year in Butler. The most impressive game I saw for South Meck was their win over Providence. The kids played, a Providence team that likes to play physical and tried to be physical and tried to impose their will physically. The South Mecklenburg players didn't buy into it, and they had the mentality that they were going to be the physical team. And Justin Harden said after the game, they kicked our ass, So South Meck's a good team. I think, this new South, Matt, I don't know if you've seen me say, but it's really the old South. And when I think about South Mecklenburg, I think about South Mecklenburg I played against, the South Mecklenburg that won a state championship, and the attitude and their whole demeanor. It's kind of where South Meck is at now, but they still got a little ways to go. And going up against a team like Butler, this is where the rubber hits the road kind of deal, as they say. The Providences, the Catholics, those are all great teams, Ardrey-Kell. But going up against Butler, this is probably if not the best offense in the state. They're right up there, at least statistically. And I think we all know from everywhere from Williams to LeMay, Duck. I mean, they've got the players across the field to be able to score. So I'm just going to say real quickly, I think what South Mecklenburg is going to have to do is really they're going to have to find a good defensive scheme to slow down that offense and get them in that 21-point range to give them an opportunity. And then I really question even if South Meck's going to be able to score 21, or more than 21 points against Butler. This is one of the worst, statistically wise, defenses that Butler's ever had. And certainly has had, somebody ran some numbers, I think it might have been Hokie, ran some numbers of Shaughnessy's defenses and the points and everything that they've given up. And this is by far the last 2 seasons have been the highest number of points. But that said, this is Butler, and those are just giving up points to the Richmonds and to the Mallard Creeks of the world, and not to the South Mecks.
Well, with South Meck, their staff, including Greg Taylor, Jason Lehman, came from Myers Park, so they had some experience in going against Butler in that previous time they were there in that conference. So they're not foreign to what Butler does, as scheme wise.
Well, let me say, Rocky White coached at Butler.
Oh, there you go.
So keep going. I'm sorry.
And just to speak on South Meck a little bit, the turnaround there has been remarkable. In a short period of time, Rocky's come in and changed the culture, he speaking from a coaching perspective for a second, he gave me some good advice before we played them, and told me some things that we've tried to implement at Harding going through the rebuilding process. And it's similar to what they went through a couple of years ago at South. They really put the time in, got in the weight room, dedicated themselves to the game, and the result is now they're in the playoffs. But your reward is going against a perennial state champion.
Right, exactly.
But those are the steps you take, in building a program up, and they're going to take the challenge head on. And I think South Meck has some skill athletes that we know about, in the back seven that can match up with Butler. I think the key in this game is going to be the lines. Who wins the battle in the trenches is going to go a long way in winning this game. Butler has some very, very good talent on the offensive side of the ball, like you mentioned before. And they're battle tested. Now they're coming off a tough loss to their rival. Mentally, how are they going to bounce back? Are they going to be ready to step up and make a run, or are they still going to be, trying to get over that hangover over the loss of independence? For South Meck, they had a tough loss to RGL.
Right.
And, they have a 2-quarterback system, but, where it is number 12, he's more of the pocket pro style quarterback. He's kind of banged up, not sure if he's going to play or not. So that leaves it to number 5. And he's a younger kid who's athletic, can run some of the option type things. And, he's going to be tough to deal with. On the other hand, though, Butler sees that every day in practice.
Right.
With, great dual threat quarterback in Ratliff Williams. So,
yes.
I mentioned some of the defensive struggles Butler's had, but, like you said, that's a Butler statement. They're still a very good defense. So, the challenge for South Meck is, what are you going to do offensively to, take advantage of some of the things that you can do? It's going to be a tougher game for South Meck, but I think, if they come up with a good scheme, like you mentioned, on the defensive side of the ball, it could be interesting for a while. But, you got a team that has a ton of experience and championship experience in Butler going against a team that's, kind of taking that next big step here in South Meck. So, on paper, you like Butler, but, it's the playoffs. These are high school kids. Anything can happen, but I think it'll be a good game for a while down there.
I agree. I just want to make a comment as far as that rebuilding of the South Meck and the culture and everything. It has been a process. It's it started from getting kids to even just believe and want to play football and accepting losses and understanding that there can be gain from loss and instead of just driving themselves deeper. And I think personally that turnaround happened last season. We started to see them become more competitive, and now they had a great season. They had a rough start to the season against Independence. Yeah. That's a tough team. Independence has a pretty darn good defense, but they don't have a bad offense either.
Oh no,
they that's and that's the kind of feeling I get about this game, is that they're going to have to face that kind of challenge of an offense. So hopefully they've grown and they're able to make this game competitive. I hope you guys have a great ball game. Would love to be able to see it. And I know coaches probably don't want this, but I'd love to see at one point a game that somebody wins in the last second. I really don't care who wins, but I hope it is a great ball game. So you guys get out there. I'm sure the New South people will be out there. And Butler, I wouldn't overlook them.
I said the hip hop, the hip it to the hip hop. You don't stop the rocket to the bang bang. When you say up, jump the boogie.